Hello everybody, and welcome to my channel. Every now and then, the Watchtower puts out an article that just begs to be commented on. The August 2018 study edition of the Watchtower is just such an article. The first study article, which is supposed to be studied the week of October 1st through 7th, is Do You Have the Facts? Which is really funny because we have been asking people this question for a long time. We have been asking Jehovah's Witnesses, do you have the facts? Well, now apparently the Watchtower is going to take up the question themselves. And this is quite a fascinating article. I recommend that you go to jw.org and read it and download it for yourself to form your own opinions. As always, that is what I recommend that you do. So right in paragraph 1, they say, of course, if we have the facts, we can reach right conclusions. Well, obviously. But then they quote Proverbs 18:13 that says, when anyone replies to a matter before he hears the facts, it is foolish and humiliating. So this article will attempt to convince Jehovah's Witnesses to get the facts, but really it's going to attempt to convince them that it's dangerous to get any facts that don't come from the Watchtower. So right away they begin undermining the importance of facts. In paragraph 3, the subheading, do not believe every word. Second sentence is, internet, websites, television, and other mass media present a seemingly unending array of ideas. Wait a minute here, I thought we were talking about facts. So right away they're trying to undermine factual information by conflating it with ideas. Right away they have changed the subject and they have engaged in the fallacy of equivocation. So they go on in that paragraph to say, since the deliberate spreading of wrong information and the distorting of facts are common, we have good reason to be cautious and to evaluate carefully what we hear. Now, the Watchtower is certainly in a position to make this statement because they are well known for misquoting people. Not too long ago, they misquoted a prominent scientist to make it look as if he was questioning evolution, when in fact he was not. And that scientist wrote them a letter to ask for an apology. They never apologized, they never admitted their error, but they did remove their misleading quote from the Watchtower. So the Watchtower then does deliberately engage in spreading of wrong and distorted facts. That's why they know it's common, because they do it on a regular basis. So paragraph 4 says, therefore we need to be highly selective and choose carefully what information we will read. Completely agree. We should not waste our time viewing questionable internet news sites or reading unsubstantiated reports circulated via email. This sentence is interesting. What is a questionable internet news site? So basically what they're trying to do here is say that anything that disagrees with them is therefore a questionable internet news site. They are trying to undermine anything factual that you might be able to research. The paragraph goes on, it is especially important to avoid websites promoted by apostates. Their whole purpose is to tear down God's people and to distort the truth. That last sentence is 100% false. Those who have left the organization that the Watchtower refers to as apostates are actually very interested in getting Jehovah's people to look at the facts, which can be substantiated multiple different ways. One source of factual information we want people to look at is old Watchtower literature. If every single person that left the organization spent all their time writing literature, they might be able to write the amount of apostate literature that the Watchtower has already produced. The Watchtower has been in the business of producing apostate literature since the late 1800s. And every so often, every 2 or 3 decades, everything that they've written before that suddenly becomes apostate. And if you doubt that, just go to their website to see what sources you can actually download. And you will find that it goes back to roughly 2000. Some Kingdom Hall libraries will have older information, and I highly recommend you avail yourself of that and actually look and see what was in print. There are some true gems. They have multiple times indicated that Armageddon was coming and should be here by now. When I was growing up, I never thought I would get out of school. I'm old enough now to have children in school. Anyways, going on, paragraph 4 says, poor quality information will lead to poor decisions. It certainly will, and for me, most of my life, having poor quality information led to making decisions I would not have otherwise made. The paragraph goes on, never underestimate the powerful effect that misleading information can have on your mind and heart. The Watchtower knows the effect of misleading information. They traffic in it all the time, and this is the only way they keep people captive in their organization, is by a continual flow of misleading information. So we'll skip to paragraph 6. It says, we need to be especially cautious when we come across reports regarding Jehovah's people. Right away, they're trying to remind the Jehovah's Witnesses that they consider the entire world to be under the power of Satan. Therefore, anytime you hear anything bad in the news about Jehovah's Witnesses, it must be Satan. And the next sentence shows this. It says, never forget that Satan is the accuser of God's faithful servants. Therefore, Jesus warned that opposers would lyingly say every sort of wicked thing against us. So here's the issue. So if it was lying, then how come there are court orders that have requested the documents that the Watchtower has admitted to having on the number of pedophiles that they have on record? In Australia, they got access to this information, and they found over the course of 50 years, there were over 1,006 instances recorded. That is on the Australian Royal Commission website. You can check that out for yourself. They put that information out there for everybody to see. The only individuals that were lying there were those who were instructed by the branch to obfuscate. And in fact, governing body Jeffrey Jackson acted as if he didn't really understand the inner workings of the Watchtower, and as if he had very limited responsibility. He seemed to be unable to answer questions that most 10-year-old publishers can answer. So anyways, the Watchtower is they're in cover-up mode is what they're doing. So paragraph 6 continues, if we take that warning seriously, we will not be shocked when we hear outrageous statements about Jehovah's people. So the Watchtower knows that there is a lot of factual information about all of the bad things that happen within the Watchtower. There's lots of factual information about people who have died from refusing blood transfusions. There's lots of factual information about children who have been abused and about abusers who have been excused and not reported to police. And there's lots of information about people whose families have been destroyed by the Watchtower, all of which is factual. The Watchtower knows they can no longer keep this under wraps. So they're trying to tell people, oh, well, all that information, those are lies. So don't be shocked when you hear outrageous statements. So the Watchtower is engaged in a massive policy of deception, ironically enough, in an article encouraging you to get the facts. The Watchtower goes on to demonstrate the fact that they understand that incomplete reports are bad. Paragraph 9, incomplete information. It says reports that contain half-truths or incomplete information are another challenge to reaching accurate conclusions. A story that is only 10% true is 100% misleading. So, as you read this, ask yourself, how many times when you read a Watchtower does it quote some brother or some sister or some person who said this, that, or the other thing? But you have no way to fact-check that. If you have no way to fact-check that, first of all, how can it possibly be true? How do you know what the context was in which they said that? So the Watchtower, once again, is a master at presenting incomplete information. And again, as I cited earlier, they misquote people and they cherry-pick the quotes to present information that is inaccurate and incomplete and knowingly misleading. So at the bottom of this page, there's a little blurb about where to get your news. And of course, you've guessed it, it's all from jw.org. And they tell you about their newsroom, the breaking news, and JW Broadcasting. So if you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses, the only safe place to get information is from the mothership. Now, moving on to paragraph 11, they make an interesting observation. They say, as individuals, we may also become victims of injustice because half-truths or incomplete information is circulated about us. The Watchtower is in the habit of circulating half-truths and incomplete information about people that have left their organization. They do this on a regular basis. You can leave because you realize that what they are teaching is false. You can leave because you believe that they are dishonoring God and that you no longer want to dishonor God. However, they will say that you are under the influence of Satan when you leave them and that you are now a wicked person. So the Watchtower is very familiar with the injustice of presenting half-truths because, once again, this is what they do, lock, stock, and barrel. Then they ask the question, what though if you are a victim of slanderous accusation? Well, if you are a victim of such a slanderous accusation at the hands of the Watchtower, there will be no relief for you here. And they will continue to slander you no matter what, no matter how much you try to tell them the truth, because they don't care. They do, however, say wisdom is vindicated by its works. Here, they are giving you the way to prove that they are lying about you. If you go on to live a good life, and you go on to be happy, you will demonstrate beyond the shadow of the doubt that the Watchtower is lying about you. So there is a challenge. If you've left the Watchtower, go on to live a happy, productive life, and you will be proving the Watchtower to be the liars that they are. And there's another quote in paragraph 13. So if someone spreads a lie about us, We can live in such a way that no one will believe that lie. Again, take the Watchtower's advice. If you've left and they're spreading lies about you, live in a way that demonstrates that they are lying about you. Now, in paragraph 14, they go on to undermine those who have been serving them for decades. It asks the question, what if we have been serving Jehovah faithfully for decades? Well, paragraph 15 lets us know that this too can be a snare. We still can't rely on ourselves. No matter how long you have been serving Jehovah, you cannot lie on your own understanding. You must resort to reading the Watchtower to answer every question, and you have to think in line with them no matter what. In paragraph 16, they present a scenario where somebody rushes to judgment. This experienced elder named Tom saw a fellow elder, John, sitting at another table with a woman who was not his wife, and they were having a good time together. Tom obviously jumps to the conclusion that John is about to commit fornication, because this is what Jehovah's Witnesses are trained to believe. However, it turns out that this was John's fleshly sister. So Tom was having the wrong conclusion. And this is commonplace in the organization, which is why they have this example. Anytime you see somebody with somebody that's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're taught to assume the worst. Therefore, the Watchtower addresses this easily imaginable scenario. Anyways, paragraph 19 is interesting. It says, one principle is that it is foolish and humiliating to reply to a matter before hearing the facts. Well, this kind of puts Jehovah's Witnesses in a bind. They're not allowed to hear the facts, and they're only allowed to reply based on what the Watchtower said. The Watchtower is setting the Jehovah's Witnesses up to look foolish and be humiliated on a regular basis. The next one cites Proverbs 18:13. I think it says another Bible principle reminds us not to accept every word without question. Or that might be Proverbs 14:15. And so this is interesting because in the Watchtower's mind, that does not apply to Watchtower. You are expected to accept everything the Watchtower says without question. And once again, that's putting you in the position to look like a fool. But they remind you, finally, no matter how much experience we have in Christian living, we must be careful not to lean on our own understanding. No matter how much experience you have as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, it is never enough. You always must look to the Watchtower for your answers. The Watchtower insists on keeping Jehovah's Witnesses in a childlike state because this is absolutely critical to their ability to control Jehovah's Witnesses. So once again, I recommend go to jw.org, look up the August 2018 study edition of the Watchtower, read the article for yourself, decide for yourself if what I'm saying is untrue. These are not things that I've written. I have, however, lived the life and had the experience. Anyways, those are my thoughts for today, and please, always, check your facts.